Good morning, guys. For today's interview, I'm going to be talking to Stuart Bull. Now, if you don't know who Stuart Bull is, he basically invented online guitar tuition with Lick Library. So have a look at that. There are literally hundreds, maybe thousands of instructional DVDs available. He's also now diversifying into TV and podcasting. He's got a range of t-shirts. You'll hear more about it all in the interview. And without further ado, let's talk to Stuart Bull. I'm incredibly delighted to welcome Stuart Bull to my pro musician interview series. So Stuart's in Mexico in a sort of bad internet connection, but we've managed to get something up that's pretty good. So welcome, Stuart, and thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's great to be here, Andy. We've chatted a couple of times before, and yeah, it's funny. You know, it's weird. You get internet friends. I don't think have we ever met in person?
Yeah, we you know what? We met at Russ Gilbrook's Stag Do.
Oh, wow. But isn't it weird how those lines blur, because you think, you know, you get people that you meet them at a trade show and you think, have I met this person, or have I, you know?
Yeah.
You really don't know.
Yeah, it's a long time. But we've been mostly internet friends, and I've been watching what you've been doing and stuff. And you know, I love your playing. And I saw you in London years ago playing with Michelangelo Battio in Tottenham, of all places. And just, you know, I took a mate down there, and it was like, holy moly, this playing is just sensational. So
I tell you what, that band was a good band as well. It wasn't really, I mean, yes, obviously it was about the playing. It was, but we were very kind of astute in terms of like making that band sound really good. So my sort of view was like, even if Michael was only playing blues licks, it would still be a killer band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you add that ridiculous playing on top of that, and you've got, well, something ridiculous. You know.
Well, and then you had the double neck thing, and I mean, it was just all out of this world, you know. It's
crazy, and me and Michael are really good friends. Like Michael always says, "Can you swear on the show?"
Absolutely.
So Michael always says about our relationship. He goes, "You know, I can tell Stuart to fuck off, and he can tell me to fuck off, and we're still friends." You know, 10 minutes later, and his mum always said to him, "You know, Stuart's a good friend of yours, Michael. You should remember that. You know, he's a good guy. You know, because he obviously." You know, he gets surrounded by a lot of fucking weirdness, as a lot of us do.
Yeah, absolutely. So Stuart, really, what I wanted to cover today, there's so much I'd love to talk to you about, just in general. Maybe we'll get to do another show, but you've just brought out the podcast Electric Guitar Show, which I was very excited to hear a couple of days ago. So. Let us know about that and what you're doing and what your thoughts are, where it's going, and you know what your ethos is.
Originally, it started off as the Electric Guitar Show. We did like a kind of almost TV show type of thing.
Yeah, remember it.
Right, okay. So we did a couple of episodes of that. We had a sort of ex-BBC producer, and it really, we did 2 episodes, and it was great. I loved it, but this BBC producer was like, you really got a sort of insight into what the BBC is or used to be. Like, to give you one example, like we had this Novo board, like a whiteboard in the control room of the studio, and he wanted an assistant to walk fucking 10 feet through to the other room to write stuff on the board or read it off or whatever. And he was always like, I want a better hotel, or I need more lights. And it was always just, you know, it was obviously from that generation where the taxpayers' money was just fucking, you know, destroyed by lunches and whatever those idiots decided they wanted to spend it on. And you really got a feeling of that, you know, you really did, you know.
Yeah.
And it was costing about $5,000 an episode, which is not a lot of money in sort of TV terms. But with that, and with his, you know, constant complaining about this and that and everything else, and it just, and my business partner, you know, bless his heart, you know, he don't want to, you know, he's not a big fan of spending money. And so after 2 episodes, it wasn't that much fun. It cost a lot. The I wanted to include it in the Lick Library package. So I wanted to do it like, you know, so that it would be on Lick Library and only the members would be able to see it. So it would be kind of like a special thing.
Right.
My business partner wanted to put it on YouTube, which, you know, and at that time we have a couple more employees and our social media is a lot better. But at that time, sorry, I'm just going to turn this air conditioning off. But at that time, the social media for Lick Library was just awful. In fact, we didn't have it. You know, you imagine two guys of our fucking age trying to, you know, post on Facebook. You can imagine how that went. And you don't go on Facebook at all. So, you know, and I'm not going to go on there with a cat, you know, walking on my guitar or whatever. I'm just not into that.
I'm just going to stop you for a second. You're turning the air conditioning off, and 5 minutes ago I just lit a fire in the house.
Oh,
you know, so just to let you know where we're coming from.
Yeah.
But listen, you know, there's a lot of there's a lot of good stuff on YouTube, but I can see how a lot of people are doing the membership areas on stuff like that, and obviously Lick Library is huge anyway, so you would have tapped into that marketplace, I'm sure.
Yeah, and part of the problem with Lick Library is a lot of people don't realise, like, if I bring out a DVD, you know, people want to buy that, but if I bring out a record, if they've got 20 quid to spend on a Stuart Ball product, it's not going to probably be my album they're going to spend it on, because they want to buy, you know, the DVD stuff, because I'm a pretty good teacher. And so they're going to go for that, you know, before they're going to, you know, buy my album. But anyway, getting back to the thing. So that kind of, you know, because of this producer, I wasn't really agreeing with my business partner, blah, blah, blah. We stopped doing it. And sometime later, I didn't know anything about podcasts or how to do them or anything like that, but a tennis professional in Las Vegas, where I sometimes live, it turned out his brother had worked for Apple for 3 years in the podcasting department.
Right.
And I was like, playing tennis with this guy and sort of asking him questions, and I said, well, look, you know, could I maybe talk to your brother? He said, yeah. So we eventually, you know, got a sort of phone conversation going, and he said, look, if you make the show, I will, you know, I'll show you how to put it on iTunes and everything else. So I was like, well, I know how to make the show. That part's not hard. So basically, one weekend, probably about 3 weeks ago, I'd say now, say 3 weeks ago, I did, you know, I've got this thing with me where I'll like write fucking 17 albums and I won't do anything for 5 years, but I'll do that 17 albums in like 2 days. I don't know why that is. I get these absolute bursts of like, you know what I mean? I'm like a musical sprinter, but then I'm like, once I've done that sprint, oh, fuck it. I've got to sit on the couch for a month now. But anyway, so I basically wrote all the comedy stuff, wrote all the adverts, did everything in about a space of a weekend. And then Martin Hales, who does all the audio for Lick Library, I said, hey, Mark, you know, can you put this together? I'll give you everything. Can you just put it together? And he liked it. He was, and the thing is, it was actually his idea when I first started talking. I should put this in. It was his idea to do the comedy stuff. He goes, I'm watching this show in the UK called The Slug or something like that.
Right.
And and he was talking about this guy who ends up, I don't know, I won't go into that. It's a bit rude, but anyway, he goes, I think, you know, you should go in that direction. So I was like, you know, that's interesting. So I started and I've always written comedy sketches, but never done anything with them. I write stupid little jokes like, I love to eat pussy, but never in a Chinese restaurant. You know, I write stupid little things like that, but I never do anything with them. And then I'll write comedy sketches. I'm like, oh, what if this happened and what if that happened, you know? And anyway, like last night there was a guy whose dog attacked the owner in Mexico, and I'm thinking, what a great sketch, you know? You're saying you phone in the dog school, and I told you to get him to attack other people, not me, you fucking idiots. I want my money back. So anyway, so I wrote all the comedy stuff and everything in the space of a weekend, sent it over to Mark. Mark put it together, and we were like, you know what, this is really, really good. And I had the idea to feature friends, you know, tracks from my friends.
Yeah.
Because I thought, why not? It's a fun thing. And I reached out to Michael Batio first. He got back to me within 30 minutes, which he always pretty much does anyway. Sent me 3 or 4 tunes, I think it was. Then I reached out to Sam. Sam sent me some stuff. Lee Raff, he sent me some stuff. my buddy, my Belgian buddy Wimro Lance, he sent me some stuff, and I thought, well, why not feature some of my stuff on it as well?
Yeah, great idea.
And before we knew it, we had kind of, I mean, you know, at my generation, I used to listen to like Steve Wright in the afternoon on the BBC and everything, and I really liked that kind of radio show format.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. I'd love to know where you got hold of that famous guy from the '70s, Dick Venison. He's where's he been hanging out?
I've got to be very careful about talking about the characters on the show.
Okay,
Some people might think that those characters are based on them. Of course, they'd be completely wrong.
right,
But they might, you know, they could be forgiven for thinking that. But
right,
Dick is
okay.
great. You know, Dick is. I mean, I can talk about Dick. He's not a bad guy, but he's a bit misguided. You know what I mean? A little bit misguided.
Yeah,
He thinks, you know, I think he thinks that if he plays more notes than the Bank of England, somehow that's going to have some emotional content. So Dick's got a few lessons to learn,
yeah.
but you know, I'm going to keep having him on the show.
So you
Actually,
should.
it's very unfortunate. I just got a press release from the police, and Dick actually just got caught with his dick in some venison. So we're gonna, that is another, which is not good. You know, it's not good. And
It's
you
not
know,
good.
and we had a meeting, and when I say we, I mean to you know figure out whether we should cover that or not. But it looks like we are going to do that. So Dick is in trouble, and you know we're not sure where that's going to go. But anyway, it
Okay.
will be featured. Maybe I don't know whether it will be on the next episode.
So when will the next episode be out, Stuart? When are you thinking
Well,
about?
actually, most of the stuff is written for it now. All the sketches are written and recorded and
Yeah.
done. My Mac, I arrived in Mexico about a week ago, and my Mac kind of went completely wrong. It doesn't
Right.
turn on there. So anyway, but one of my buddies down here is going to lend me some kit, which hopefully I'm going to pick up tonight, and then I'm going to record the rest of the bits this week. But it's going to be a monthly thing.
Right. Okay.
That's
And
what I'm
where
thinking.
where can people if people just type in the Electric Guitar Show into the podcast area on iTunes, they'll find you.
Yeah,
Will they? Is it anywhere else? Is it on Spotify?
it's also on Spotify.
Right. Okay. Okay. Brilliant.
And we're going to put it. I mean, this chap that I mentioned earlier who's been helping me out.
Yeah.
He's been. Sorry, make sure I don't put my thumb over the camera. He's been you know really really great. So I don't want to bug him too much, but the next kind of
Right.
conversation that we have, he'll be helping me put it you know sort of on the moon and wherever else
Yeah.
opportunities that we
Fantastic.
get. You know.
I want to talk to you about the guests that you've had on. I mean, you had some standout tracks, including your own, which I want to come to. But Sam Bell was a real discovery for me. I mean, the track that you played on the show was mind blowing. What's Sam Bell's sort of history?
Well, he came to work. He came to say work. That's the wrong word, but he came to you know do some lessons for Lick Library. I'm not sure where he came from. Maybe it was Jamie Humphries. Somebody recommended him. Like Jamie Humphries, fair play to Jamie. He brought Andy James in years ago. You know, he's
Right.
always been good at sort of finding talent. Anyway, Sam Bell somehow made his way into the company. Now I'm not there that much, but when I was there, like I say on the show, you know, I met Sam and talked to him, and I just liked him straight away. You know, I just
Yep.
did.
Yep. Yep.
And you know, I had him on the Electric Guitar Show, the TV show, the you know the video show, and he played
Right.
great. And I just you know, for some reason, and you know, I'll keep in touch with him every now and again, and you know, he'll put something on Facebook or whatever, and I'll like call him up and say like I think this and I think that, you know. And anyway, he just came into my mind. I thought, you know what, I want to see if Sam's got anything. And he just sent me one track, and that was it. And I was just like blown away straight away. I loved it. I just loved it. You know, it's just his emotional content. I mean, the thing about Sam is he's not his shredding, although it is, if you know what I'm saying. But there's a lot
Yeah.
of people that can shred. I mean, but if you haven't got any emotional content, sort of, you know, within that or ability to write, but he's a great writer. He's got a huge emotional content and sort of depth in his playing. Plus, he's got the shred thing going on and the sound, and he's just a great
Yeah.
musician, and I just loved it. I thought, wow, he sent me like one track, and You know, that was fucking.
Well,
Hopefully, the next one, they'll believe it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you know what? I think it's it's day of technology and people uh, looking at other people and learning from Lick Library and whatever else. It's stepping stones to the next level and everything. So I've got to tell everybody to listen to your show because just the talent that you've got on there on the first episode is humongous.
Yeah.
And really, really worth an hour of anybody's time to listen to. So let's talk about your track Fruit Loop with Phil Todd. Your fusion playing. I've really having checked out your playing over the years and stuff. I mean, I know that you can blow with the best of them, but the fusion stuff I haven't really heard a lot of that from you, and that was a bit of an eye opener. Is that something that you sort of you keep to one side, or you pull it out on at Christmas, or what? Is it your love?
Pull it out at Christmas.
Yeah. I'm
Could be a
setting you
Dick
up.
Venison. You just wrote me a Dick Venison joke there. I need to write.
I want credit on that.
That's gonna be Dick Venison's Christmas album. Dick Venison pulls it out at Christmas. That's gonna be his Christmas single. You should ask me about the Christmas single as well if you go. But anyway, you know what? I've always been a fan of fusion, but but when I grew up, like fusion now, I mean, I don't want to sound like an old sort of, C followed by a huge UNT, but, like fusion now is like some of it, I just don't get it. But when I grew up, and I was a professional drummer for many years, and it was Herbie Hancock and Chick Corea and all these guys, and they wrote great tunes, It was fusion, but they wrote great tunes.
Yeah.
And I was always a fan of it on drums. And it was like, for me, I'm as much a fusion player as I am a country player. I can do it like a country thing, but I don't really do it, And I think I started that whole thing as a potential tuitional thing.
Right.
And then it started to come together really well. I did about 6 or 7 tracks, so I'll be featuring some more probably. And and I was just like, oh, this is my advice to anybody, if you want to be a fusion guy or a country guy, write a piece of music in that style or as best you can.
Yeah.
And then spend your time trying to play over the changes. I mean, that's basically what Alan Holdsworth did. He'd write his own tunes and then he'd play over it, erase it, play over it, erase it until he got something, he liked.
So with what I wanted to ask you was with the changes that are happening in the song, are you looking at it modally, or are you looking at it sort of arpeggios of the chord that's playing, or are you just is it based on pentatonic for the change, the key change that happens? What's happening?
I tell you what, the main thing for virtually all my playing is more phrasing than it is scales or anything like that. Like, I truly believe that you can make anything work if you phrase it good. But to kind of answer your question, I mean, it's pretty much like I can't even think what key it's in now. But let's say it was in A minor, I'd be going from A minor to E flat 9, 7, whatever. Yeah. And so I would play, Dorian and arpeggios of, plus all my blues stuff, and then I don't know if you know the bebop lick. Have you ever heard of it? There's a guy who teaches it on YouTube. It's like if you take the cymbal pattern of a swing tune, ding 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 ding, and you just apply some notes to that, you'll get ba ba da. Right. So imagine that cymbal pattern.
Oh, right, yeah.
But yeah, ba ba ba, or whatever notes you want. Yeah. That is sort of like the bebop lick, and you hear that throughout all of that jazz sort of stuff. And then basically, if you take that phrase and then just add, as many different permutations of notes as you can, that's a big part of how I approach that stuff. Right. Then I'll pull in some arpeggios. I do this. Do you know the guitar player Tim Miller?
Yes.
So I do some stuff, and this is not, I didn't rip him off. Like, he does some stuff. I'm sure he's never fucking heard of me, but I do some stuff that's similar to him. He does some stuff that's similar to me. Right. So what I try and go for with that fusion stuff is like more that sort of hybrid picking thing where it's like part arpeggio, part scale.
Right.
But to put it in its simplest terms, it would be Dorian and arpeggios of, plus the blues, plus the chromatic stuff over the A minor chord, and when it would go to E flat, if that's the key it's in, I don't remember. it would go to Lydian flat 7.
Right.
Okay. And then again, but then, with that 6 chord, a lot of people are sort of obsessed about, it's got to be Lydian flat 7. Well, it can be pentatonic, it can be blues, it can be anything you want, but you're just putting that sharp 11 in there. I try and mix it up. Like, I don't see one of the things that you find about jazz and fusion in general is that as soon as, like, you'll get somebody that's playing, like in a bluesy way, and then as soon as the sort of jazz bit comes up, their hand position changes, the way they play. I try to sort of take what I know, being the blues and everything else, but mix it in with the jazz stuff. I don't try and go like, oh my God, I've got to stand up out of my chair now, start smoking a pipe, and put on some elbow patches just because an E7 sharp 9 chord came up,
Right. Okay.
I mean, there's a little bit of that going on, but I still try and keep a foot in.
Familiar.
In what I am and what it is that I do. Because a good blues lick will always sound, good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was Albert Lee that got me into the chromatic stuff years ago.
Right. Yeah.
And actually, Martin Miller does a really good. If you look at some of his where he where he records his Skype lessons, some of his chromatic ideas are really good as well.
Cool. So who should we be listening out for in terms of guitar players? Because you probably, you more than anybody else, you've got your ear on the pulse and you're seeing new players coming through. Who do you think is going to be hitting our collective consciousness in the next sort of year?
I'll tell you what, right? I honestly, that would be very difficult to answer, because as much as probably like me, like you, I see a lot of really good people on YouTube, although I don't watch that much of that anymore, but I don't hear much music. That's my sort of issue with it all.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like a guy like, this guy's the new whatever. It's like, I still think Michael Caswell is as relevant, bless him, he's relevant today and in the future. It's like saying, Jeff Beck's been replaced by this guy. There isn't really in that. And to be honest with you, Andy, this will probably be a conversation for somewhere down the road, because as people are hitting me up to get me to play their tunes on the show, that will be when I'll know, if there's any kind of new talent. At the moment, I'm really sort of promoting my friends. That's not. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying to anybody out there that I'm not going to feature other stuff. But my friends are the only people that I know. I can personally to say send me some stuff, and then I know that they will. Yeah, but I will let you know if I see anything. I mean, obviously, I love Sam. Lee Rath was a real surprise for me, because he looks like he works in a bank, bless him, and I was really fucking surprised. Like, when I got his show, I thought, this is great, I'd be just he's obviously got a corporate image for his job and everything. I really liked his record. I really did, and I really liked the track that I played. So but I will definitely let you know if there's any talent coming through that. For sure. There's actually a guitar player out here in Mexico called Pablo's, who I think is really good. He plays at a place called the Jungle Bar. But they can be a bit fucking lazy, these people, and it's like I'm trying to sort of encourage them to, like, stop smoking dope and actually collect some fucking emails and, try and get some sort of career going. But they look at me like I'm nuts. So I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. If I can get him to do something, and his drummer Yair, he's got a very good drummer. If I can get them two to do something, I think he'd be someone worth looking at,
Yeah, for sure. So also round about about 6 months I've been aware of it. You've also got a line of Rockstar T-shirt stuff called Guitar Star Clothing, which is guitarstarclothing.co.uk. I started this. This was another one of my projects that I started, and I didn't know what I was doing. I honestly did not know what the heck I was doing. That's pretty much how I started everything. And then made a bunch of mistakes and this, that, and the other. And eventually, Dan LeGresley within Lig Library, who works with me on this, we kind of figured out a way. But we got some really good, solid designs. I wanted to do something that was for guitar players. I mean, anybody can wear it. I wanted to do something that was guitar players, and also, like, I'm a little bit. I draw. I'm not very good, but I can draw designs, and I did actually a lot of what I did was I draw the design,
and I send it to a designer in LA called Tony Sinacropi. He don't do them all, but he does some. And then he'll kind of like make that design into something that's, you know, on a digital art on his tablet thing, whatever it is. Right. And that's it. And it was just something, you know, I wear the t-shirts myself and I love them. And that was another thing as well, because I wanted to monetize the podcast in some way, not necessarily to really make money for myself out of it, like to go and buy a car or whatever, but just to be able to, you know, keep it going. And
yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's a great extension of what you're doing business wise. I mean, I think it's a logical step forward into that area. So I wish you all the best of luck with that.
I like writing adverts as well. I've always liked writing jingles, and I've written a few adverts and jingles in the past. And it's like, when you've got like an attention span as long as mine, which is not very long, writing jingles is great. Like, I write songs and I do, but I labour over them, and I'm like, if I've written some songs for it or music for a project, it's like, honestly, I'm like, oh shit, man, I need to go and sit down for a month, like I said earlier. But with jingles, it's great. You can come up with, like, I don't know if you heard the Guitar Star, bitch.
Yeah.
Obviously, I come up with that on the spot, and so like 10 minutes, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes later, that was done. So that really suits me and my personality to be able to do those things really quickly, you know.
So tell me something, Stuart. What are you using to record when you're recording at home? What are you using? What DAW are you using? What drum machines? What's your setup? What sort of things are you using?
Okay, so depending on what I'm doing, I use when I'm in Vegas, I've got an old Mac Tower and I use a Logic 9.
Right.
Just because I know it, and you know, it's with an old FW1884 Tascam interface, which I know.
Right.
And for what I do, it's fine because I don't mix my stuff. I do all the recording, but I don't mix it. And I've got KRK monitors, Exposed A28s, I think they're called, which are fantastic. Right. KRKs are brilliant. I love those.
Right.
When it comes to recording guitar, you know, I'll tell you what, I've been on the show, on the electric guitar show, I'm using I'm micing up a Fender Hot Rod DeVille, but the Mike Landau version.
Right. Okay.
And then I've got various pedals, which I've been using an old OCD version too, and I've got a Friedman Brown Eye pedal.
Right.
A couple of my favourites, I've got an old Marshall, 70s Marshall, which I had modified with the Jose Arredondo mod, which not by him obviously, but by a guy in Vegas.
Yeah.
I've got a Blackstar 5-watt,
right,
which I use and I love, and I just come direct out of that. That's great.
Right.
I've got GT10 that I sometimes use. The one that in England that I would have with me all the time, if I could, would be my JMP1.
Right. Okay. Oh, fantastic.
They should start making those again.
Fantastic. Well, maybe they will actually, because they're always reissuing their old popular models, aren't they? So why not? Yeah. Why not?
I use that, and I use pretty much. I've got a few guitars. I use Paul Reed Smiths. Now, when it comes to drums, the company that I recommend is Spectrasonics. I don't know if you know that company.
I haven't heard of them. No.
They're absolutely brilliant, and I use some old drum loop CDs from the 90s.
Wow.
Greg Bissonette and other people. But they do a thing. I don't actually have this yet. I'm going to get it. It's called Stylus. Whoa, shit, sorry. It's called Stylus. Oh, hold on a minute. What happened there?
Nice T-shirt.
Oh, thanks, man. I should be wearing my own, shouldn't I? But there we go. I'll get you back.
I could.
Have you got me?
Go. Yeah, got you.
All right, great. Where was it? Oh, yeah. So, an old Greg Bissonette CD, but Stylus RMX is the name of the product, and that is absolutely killer. But with the lick library stuff, and say for example the Fusion thing with Fruit Loop and everything else, that was I get Pete Riley plays on that. So the way I do it is like I'll program a drum part for the tune that I'm doing. Say for example with Fruit Loop, I did exactly the same thing, and I do it for all my. I did an orchestral album, which is not out yet, but might be at some point. And basically I put some guitars on, normally like 3 or 4 guitars, not too many. And then I'll send it to Martin. Martin will put some keyboards on if it's needed. And then we send it to Pete, and Pete Riley will play drums. Andy Staples will play bass.
Right.
And then they'll send that stuff back to Martin, and Martin will, do some sort of mix of it. And that's basically how I do it. It's a fairly basic setup. Like, I work unbelievably quickly, and
Right.
so I really, that's part of the reason I'll just grab that Black Star or grab this, or I'll
Yeah.
grab that, because when I get an idea, I want to get down. Like, I work really, really quickly, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and the advantage of having Martin Hales on, working with me is he's so good at, like, if I do like 20 vocals, he'll just like cut them up and do the right thing. So
Right.
I haven't got to be Mutt Langer. I can just go, I can
Right.
just I can just do the line, do the next time, do the next time, get the guitar, do that, do that, do that, do that. I get it done as quick as I can to get that kind of really cool, nice feel off it.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then I let him sort it out.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? So tell me more about this Christmas single. You already really had brought one out a couple of years ago, right? Are we talking about the same track or
Yeah,
a new track?
we're talking about the
Yeah.
same one. It's just I don't know if you ever get a chance, go and read some of the comments on it.
Okay.
So I had what, yeah, just goes to show you, because, like, I don't know what I just, I was writing a orchestral project, and that line, "It's Christmas," just kind of fell out of my mouth, and I was like, oh well, I quite like that, and so I ended up having the idea to write this song that wasn't about Santa Claus, but also wasn't about religion, which was just about people, not being
Getting
dicks at
along.
Christmas,
Yeah.
yeah, just getting along and whatever. And
Yeah.
so I did it, and some of the comments I got, oh my God, I've said this before. One guy said, "This record gave me cancer, then it gave me AIDS." And
Oh.
I wrote back, yeah, I wrote back and I said, "Which one did you get first? And once you had that, did you care about getting the second one?" And it was
But
so funny, because actually I think it was that guy or another guy actually kind of wrote back and said, "Look, I feel bad for what I said, but the truth of the matter is everybody was sort of giving you a kick in, and I just wanted to join in."
oh man, man, you know what? I get a few comments on my YouTube channel, and so yeah, I let a lot of them go, and then there'll be one or two that just get to you, and you just think, oh, you're being a dickhead. And I write something back, and then actually, you normally get them writing back saying, "You know what? It was Saturday night. I'd had a couple of beers.
Yeah.
I didn't really mean it, but unfortunately, it's there for the world to see,
Yeah, but
Uh,
honestly, I really don't care. Like, honestly, I really, really don't care. If you go and read those Christmas comments, I thought it was funny. I mean, it was like, the thing about me is like, the first thing that always, like, do you know that comedian, and I think his name's Anthony Jeselnik or whatever.
I don't know. I've heard of him, no.
And he just takes these really, like, he talks about abortion and all this crazy stuff, and he makes it into a joke. And I know a lot of people are probably offended by that, but that really appeals to me, because it kind of makes you indestructible
Yeah,
in a way. You're the Iron Man of, whatever, because they're trying to, if you, like, if someone writes something like that about a record that you spent time on, and then you comment on it like I did,
yeah,
it kind of makes you indestructible. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you
yeah,
can't hurt me. You just can't, and you can't, because I'm fucking Stuart Ball, for fuck's sake. I'm super fucking talented, charismatic. I'm a good guy. I help my friends out every way I possibly can whenever I get any opportunity, wherever I am in the world. So and like I said, listen, I had a guy. I'll tell you this little story about a guitar player called Julio Zicki, who years ago came to my gig. And I'll never forget it. And he was saying to me, he was just like, kind of, after my gig, he was waving his finger at me, and he goes, "All you do is play fast, and you're just like Phil Ilborn." And he just he was kind of slating me. So I let him kind of puff himself out, and I said, "Look, let me tell you this, Julio." I said, "A lot of people know who I am." And I said, a lot of them say that, I'm okay. And some of them say I'm good. A few of them say, I'm really good. And there's like 2 or 3 people around who say I'm, a really great player. I said, but let me tell you this, nobody said anything about you. And
right, okay, right on,
right.
right
So
on,
if you take my point on that,
yeah, I do, absolutely,
that's it, and that's the way I feel about it. In the terms of being a boxer, I'm in the ring, man. If you're not in the ring, well, fuck you, because you ain't got the balls. I
yeah,
have.
yeah,
I've got the balls to go out there, do my stuff, put it out for the world to see. And, I absolutely admire anybody who has that, who does that.
yeah,
That's a great thing. You've got my absolute, respect.
yeah,
And if some fucking panachero, comes along and tries to say whatever. I mean, you know, honestly, that there's actually a woman on YouTube called Marissa Peer, and you know, she talks about this type of thing, and people, what they're really doing is they're kind of expressing their dissatisfaction of themselves and
Yeah,
their
yeah,
own lives onto you.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
it's
think
kind of
you're,
sad
yeah,
in a way. It
yeah,
is really sad in a way, you know. And
yeah,
I'm at the opposite end of the scale where I'm saying to my friends, "Hey, man, come and give me tracks. I want to, you know, I want to feature 'em." And I know, I always think, you know, 20 years in the head, I'm like the Buck Rogers of ideas, you know. And I want the electric guitar show to have a live. Yeah, I
yeah.
want to do the electric guitar show live. I want to take it on the road with various players,
Right.
you know, and you know, trying to expose this thing that we're doing.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, I think on that note, Stuart, I could talk to you for another 3 or 4 hours probably, but your air conditioning unit needs to go back on again, and I need to go and get back to that fire again probably. But Stuart, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
You're a very genuine, real guy, and I love what you do, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. And I hope we can do this again some other time. And good luck with guitarstyleclothing.co.uk and the Electric Guitar Show, which can be found on iTunes and Spotify. And look, check out Stuart Ball. Full stop. You know, he's a great player, got a lot to give, and he's a great teacher. So thank you so much, Stuart.
Thanks, Andy. It's an absolute
Bless you,
pleasure
buddy.
talking to you. Talk to you soon,
Yeah,
mate.
you